Good morning, my friends. How are you? It's still early mid morning, I would say mid morning in the West Coast in Canada, and I'm checking in with all of you, our social community, our Sangha here, uh, to see how you're doing, and also continue to share any ideas, and I'm going to continue to share any ideas that could be helpful, and also encourage you to share any ideas that can be helpful in this current pandemic that is going across the world, not respecting any boundaries whatsoever. No boundaries are being respected by the coronavirus. National boundaries, ethnic boundaries, religious boundaries, geographical boundaries, anything that separates us at this moment is purely conceptual and has no basis in reality, as you can see. The virus pandemic is showing that we are all not only interconnected, we are inseparable. What happens to you happens to me, ultimately. What happens to me happens to you, ultimately. How I think affects you. How you think affects me. How I feel affects you, and how you feel affects me. How I perceive the world and how I perceive and interpret reality right now affects you, and how you perceive and interpret reality affects me. So, if anything, this pandemic has shown that our well-being or our distress is entangled. That's a word that is being used a lot in physics, quantum entanglement, that at the level of fundamental particles, everything is entangled with everything else. I have also mentioned in the past that everything that happens in consciousness are its modifications, such as sensations, perceptions, images, feelings, thoughts, moods. These are also entangled. You shift one, you shift all the others. So at this moment, we're also entangled through social media. So there's no question that we're entangled. And our collective well-being, therefore, is dependent on our collective well-being. Your collective well-being, my collective well-being, which means my well-being in my ecosystem of relationships and your well-being in your ecosystem of relationships, all totally interdependent, inseparable, and therefore it is our duty to take care of ourselves and to take care of each other and ultimately to project that as the well-being of our world, which includes everything from social justice to economic justice to a sustainable world, to our collective health, our collective well-being, our collective emancipation and freedom, to harness our collective creativity. All this is happening actually right now. There's a big shift in the world on how we are perceiving reality. But having said that, it's equally important to recognize that fear and stress and even panic are pervading the ecosystem of relationships. And this is actually not a good thing, because fear and stress and panic all compromise our immune system. And while we are watching the news and social media and have heard many times the importance of washing your hands, other hygienic procedures, and if you are not yet totally overexposed to washing the hands, then you're actually not aware of what everybody else is aware. So please wash your hands. But I personally can't think of watching another video on washing hands. Let's wash hands, period. Let's observe physical, social distancing, period. All these suggestions on how to prevent transmission, how to slow down transmission, how to even make sure that if you're not infected, to not get infected, and if you are infected, to prevent you from spreading the infection. All these measures are in place, but what is also happening at the moment is we're not actually focusing on our collective well-being, on our personal well-being, on enhancing the capacity of our immune system, our endocrine system, our healing system. And that's something we need to pay a lot of attention to. We also need to pay attention to not only get in touch with our fear by feeling our body, but moving through it, but also practicing everything to minimize stress, whether it's meditation, mindful awareness, exercise, deep breathing, vagal stimulation, yoga asanas, whatever works. But it is important to manage stress, and it is important to prevent panic. Panic is when stress goes totally out of control and you feel totally helpless, and then you engage in irrational behavior, and you also perpetuate the cycle of fear and distress. So panic is never warranted. And if you stay in touch with the facts, if we all support each other, if we all engage with each other in not only listening to each other, but also helping each other, both emotionally, psychologically, but even practically, through technology and through the creation of sanghas, or communities of well-being, self-care, emotional support, financial support, and any other kind of support that we can do through technology and through our collective intention and through our collective creativity and our collective vision, then we will be feeling much safer. And to feel safe in itself is a good way to maximize your immune capacity. Because if you're not feeling safe, then you're compromising your immune capacity. So right now it is my duty, your duty, and our collective duty to foster safety through empathy, which means deep listening and feeling what the others are feeling. Compassion, the desire to alleviate suffering, and then love in action. Has been said many times before, love without action is meaningless. Action without love is irrelevant, and together we can harness our collective creativity and emerge into a new paradigm. This is our moment to shift inward, so we can shift in our behavior outward. To that end, I should tell you that at the Chopra Foundation, which is a non-profit, we have a group of supporters called Explorers. These are explorers of consciousness. And our explorers of consciousness are on a WhatsApp, community WhatsApp, which we use to connect with each other every day and give each other ideas and support, both emotionally but also help each other in many ways. So this morning I got on my WhatsApp a communication from one of our supporters at the Explorers group at the Chopra Foundation. And I will read to you what our explorer, whose name is Preeti Agarwal. Preeti, thank you very much for sending this beautiful note to us all, and it resonated with me so much that I want to share it with our larger community. So this is what Preeti Agarwal sent to the Explorers group at the Chopra Foundation, the WhatsApp group at the Chopra Foundation. I'll read directly from what she wrote. So this is what Preeti wrote. I read a very beautiful story yesterday and wanted to share it with everyone. Once Krishna is the embodiment of the divine in the wisdom traditions of the East, one of the most important heroes, superheroes, the incarnation of the divine infinite in human form. And anyone who's familiar with the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads knows who Krishna was. So once Krishna and Balram is his brother, and he's known for his physical strength. And Balram is supposed to be one of the strongest human beings physically. So they're brothers. Spiritual hero, Krishna, Balram, the physical strong man. And they're walking through a dense forest. They were walking through a dense forest. It was a scary forest full of fierce animals and demons. Demons, of course, are archetypal energies that embody fear and anger and resentment and grievances and hostility and guilt and shame and depression. So they were walking. It was a scary forest full of fierce animals and demons. Suddenly a demon came before them. Balram was petrified. This physically strong human, one of the strongest on planet Earth, according to legend, was petrified seeing a demon and asked fearfully, "Who are you?" The demon answered, "I am a demon the size of your fear." Once again, "I am the demon the size of your fear." Hearing this, Balram was even more scared, and the demon grew bigger. As Balram got stronger in his fear and weaker in his physical strength, the demon, mirroring the fear, grew bigger. The bigger he grew, the more scared Balram was. Seeing him grow, Balram fainted, passed out. Then the demon turned his attention to Krishna, and he said, "I am the demon the size of your fear." Krishna looked at him nonchalantly and started playing his flute. You know, if you've seen pictures of Krishna, he's always playing a flute to the gopis, to the cows, to the animals in the forest, to nature. He's always playing music. So Krishna looked at the demon nonchalantly and started to play his flute. The demon grew smaller and smaller until he disappeared. When Balram got up, he was surprised to see this, and he realized his mistake, which is fear, or succumbing to fear. So my friend Preeti writes, "We live in scary times today, and we need to let our faith win over fears we have in our mind. let's make a conscious effort to have our faith in good things in life. Now, I also want to share with you that there's a little difference between belief and faith. So belief sometimes can be a cover-up for insecurity, because we believe because we want to believe. We're not sure. We believe in God, but we're not sure. We believe in higher consciousness, but we're not sure. We believe in life after death, but we are not sure. And so belief can be a cover-up for insecurity. But on the other hand, faith is the willingness to step into the unknown in every moment of life. And the unknown is also another word for unpredictability. Life is unpredictable. Everything that's going to happen from this second onwards is unpredictable. Of course, there are statistical probabilities, which we know now, statistical probabilities on how the pandemic is spreading and how we need to prevent it or minimize its morbidity and mortality. But true faith means a surrender to uncertainty, which is actually at the basis, at the heart of all creativity. It is uncertainty that proliferates ultimately as creativity. So today our collective uncertainty is triggering collective creativity as well. I've been on conference calls all morning with the Middle East, with news media, with technology companies, and all these wonderful people are now beginning to harness collective creativity through technology, through science, through deeper understanding of spirituality. And they're creating both online and offline communities to harness this collective creativity. So, if you have any idea about what is called emergence and the new social science and understanding of emergence, if you take a lot of people from disparate backgrounds, the humanities, the sciences, technology, physicians, anthropologists, economists, basically maximum diversity, you have them share a vision, they bond emotionally and socially, they share information, ideas, knowledge, and wisdom with each other, and they are totally transparent, they're open to feedback, and they just make sure that they're all bonded in their vision, both emotionally, spiritually, and they complement each other's strengths, and they settle in incubation, then emergence happens. Emergence happens and creativity happens. So this is what true faith is. Faith is getting in touch with the ground of your existence, which is your soul, your spirit, which is totally independent ultimately from all of its modifications, whether they are mental, emotional, or physical, or perceptual. They're all entangled, okay, as modifications of consciousness. But consciousness itself, spirit, is inherently free from its modifications. And that's what faith means, to get in touch with the innermost being, which is independent of its modified expressions as feeling, as thought, as emotion, as body, as relationship, while paying attention to all those modifications to be centered in pure being. In Krishna's words, the story I told you about Krishna, yogast kuru karmani, established in being, perform action. So that is what true faith is, and that is what Preeti is hinting in her message to our WhatsApp group. So she also says, meditate and keep calm. Your energy and your creativity can make your immunity higher. Yes, anything that improves our capacity for well-being can be accelerated by going deep to the source of all knowing and well-being. So meditation and keeping calm. And that we need to understand that the quiet mind is the healing mind. The silent mind is the healing mind. Okay, so again, Preeti says, relax, listen to good music, dance, or do whatever makes you happy. In fact, I spend a lot of time these days not only reflecting, but listening to music and reading poetry and actually reading inspirational literature from all the great luminaries and past, from the past and up to now in our present ecosystem. Preeti says, hear, say and listen to good things. There is a world beyond COVID-19. She says, spend time with people who uplift you instead of those who bring you down. And she says, stay safe but kind and loving too. People need healing and love in such times. Let's remember that faith conquers fear anytime and any day. These are very wise words from one of our most wonderful supporters at the Chopra Foundation in our WhatsApp group, which we call the Explorers of Consciousness. So I'm seeing a lot of good messages from you. Radha says, I am dancing. Mark Libram says, so hum. Celia Karen says, what if someone controlled your devices so you had no freedom to do that? I don't see that possibility, but I'm sorry to hear that. Apparently you do have the freedom right now because you are here. Ramanand Dixit says, I listen to Hindustani music. Yeah, Hindustani music, even Bollywood music, reflects the moods of nature and also how the moods of nature and the moods in your own being are connected. That's a specialty of Hindustani music. Cindy Welch says, our earth is being washed. Yes, that's a good metaphor. Our earth is resetting its cycle. All of you are sending amazing messages right now. Judy says, love from South Africa. Carol says, I'm painting and designing. So here we are, collective intelligence at work, collective creativity at work, collective vision at work, collective bonding. Let's unite right now beyond all our differences and have the vision for our collective healing at every level. Just remember, while the corona epidemic or pandemic is causing a lot of panic, suicide is still the second most common cause of death in teenagers. Auto accidents are happening and killing many more people. There are infections like AIDS and tuberculosis and malaria and smallpox and cholera and dengue still flourishing in impoverished areas of the world. And today, because of the speed of collective mobility, everything happens at a much faster scale than it ever happened before. But even that could be used to our advantage. So with technology, with bringing together our collective creativity, with being able to measure every experience, whether it's mental, emotional, spiritual, relationship, any experience, the ability to measure it, to quantify it, to get feedback from it, to experience what deep learning is and stillness is. All these things coming together are hopefully going to move us into a new expression of humanity so that we can be healed and we can be holy and we can be whole once again. Health, wholeness, and healing in all its dimensions. So to conclude, stay safe, follow social, physical distancing, but become even more intimate through technology, FaceTime, Skype, use WebEx, whatever, with your loved ones. Let them know that you are there for them. Show them acceptance, appreciation, affection, and everything to make them feel better, because making them feel better will make you feel better. And at the same time, be very practical. So, because we have technology, we have the ability to help each other, even financially, and even help each other with supplies, with food, with other things, through our whole ability to harness collectively the technologies that are available to us. So stay safe, practice good hygiene, but also start to think how we can enhance our physical and mental capacity. Every day, in every way, increase even by a little bit your physical and mental capacity. Do one thing, whether it's exercise or prayer or meditation or social engagement through technology, whatever it is, increase your capacity for compassion, for empathy, for joy, and for peace, whatever it takes, whether it's listening to music or dancing or poetry or reflection or taking moments to be totally still. Focus on well-being in the body, well-being in the mind, well-being in the sense of resiliency, which comes from meaning and purpose, well-being in our relationships, and ultimately go to the source of all well-being, which is our own spirit. And when we do that, then we experience joy no matter what the situation. And let us replace the pandemic of panic and anxiety with a pandemic of joy, equanimity, peace, love, empathy, compassion. So what I'll do is I'll end today with a short poem from Rumi. Again, this is a translation from The Way of Passion, a celebration of Rumi from Andrew Harvey. And once again, thank you, Preeti, for that wonderful note you sent this morning. This is Rumi speaking. If you are seeking, seek with joy, for we live in the kingdom of joy. The Spirit lives in the kingdom of joy. Do not give your heart to anything else, but to the love of those who are clear in their joy. Do not stray into the neighborhood of despair, for there are hopes. They are real. They exist. Do not go in the direction of darkness, because love is waiting. If paradise exists, it is love. And as I've said before, love in action. And it is here. It is here. It is here. It is here. And it is now. Take care. Be well and spread the joy.